Welcome back, everyone, to Vox Markets. My name is Paul Hill, and I'm delighted again to be able to speak to Vic Kist, CEO of Saietta, a tech pioneer commercializing its groundbreaking Axial Flux electric motors that are used to power all types of electric vehicles. So welcome, Vic.
No, thank you. Thank you for having me back, and Happy New Year to
Happy New
all
Year.
Your fans.
Yeah, Happy New Year, and big congrats on last month's inline interims. But we sort of dig through the details. I don't suppose you can quickly remind investors of the company's top-level commercialization strategy, plus the sort of significance of Axial Flux motors within the EV space.
Yeah, my pleasure. It's what's interesting, and I didn't know this many years ago when I started with combustion engines as a young automotive engineer, but we've had electric motors for 150 years, but they tend to run at a fixed speed, like escalators, elevators. Electric motors, as long as they are connected to the grid, people don't really care how efficient they are. As soon as you put them into a vehicle without an extension lead, i.e. an expensive battery, then suddenly people started getting more and more interested in the efficiency of the powertrain. The Axial Flux motor has been the most efficient topology forever, but it's always been the most expensive. And this is where we've gone in total stealth mode for almost 4 years to basically break that cycle and break that open, as in the Axial Flux motor deserves in mass volume. And I think we have patented that globally in quite a clever way, as we do things in Oxfordshire, don't we? So yeah, it's Saietta, and I must say 2021, scary period for everyone. But the fact that we listed the company on the London Stock Exchange, and suddenly the amount of customer doors that have opened, and the people that are now genuinely interested, that they're not like, oh, I can't place an order with Saietta because they might go bankrupt tomorrow. Well, that problem is gone, basically. So we've got the tech, we've got the funding, we've got the team, and the market is ready for it. I mean,
we've also got some delighted shareholders because the share price has doubled since you listed, so that's well done. But before we go through that, just in terms of there's a lot's been happening since we last spoke in September, and you also bought or did a bit of opportunistic M&A, and I think on a company that you were already dealing with, E-Traction. Can you just take us through that one, because you seem to have bought it at an unbelievably good price for technology and expertise?
Mm-hmm. It's I was in Slovenia, and we were preparing the power electronics for the start of production for the AFT motor, and as you know, I always want to go forward, like more and more, because this is an exciting time. This is a very exciting time. So integrating the power electronics with the motor is key to bring the cost down. Had a cost price down even further. So that's what we're focusing on. And while I was doing that, I got loads of Dutch WhatsApp messages from people in my network, and they were like, Evergrande is falling over, and they own this electric motor technology center in Holland, my home country. And I was like, why don't I know about this? So I jumped on a plane immediately, flew back, and sat down with them. The price was ridiculous. The technology was fantastic. There's 50 people here. The power electronics, as you can see there right behind me, they have all the power electronics capability in-house. And I was like, okay, I like this team. I like the tech. It's bigger. It's more for buses, but that's the market I always wanted to get into in 3 years' time. And I was like, how much? And the number was ridiculous. I was like, forget it. I don't have that type of money. And then by Sunday morning, I got an offer, and I was like, flew the M&A team in first thing on Monday morning, and 4 weeks later, the deal was done. And mainly to reduce the future bleeding to Evergrande. So that's the win-win for them, but also to protect this team here, because to put 55 people together with that much knowledge and integration, I mean, they've been going for like 15 or 18 years. There are buses running in Brussels, in Munster. I've been in the bus myself. It's just that they've been hijacked in one of these conglomerates, basically, and they've almost been like left in the corner. And obviously nobody places an order if they know that they are part of a Chinese company that are at the brink of bankruptcy. Yeah. So, and now suddenly it's like the sales inquiries. It's challenging at the moment. It's really the most difficult part I find in my job is I have to start saying no to certain clients, because we can't service the whole world. We're not Bosch, we're not Siemens yet.
Okay, well, we'll look forward to that moment. But yeah, certainly the optics look pretty good, because I think they did 11 million euros of turnover in 2019, and you only bought them for 2 million on an enterprise value. So that does seem like to be the deal of the century. Just talking about sort of like organic growth, how are things progressing in India with the joint venture partner? Because when we spoke last time, you hadn't signed it, and then the interims, you sort of like announced that you'd now finished off that particular agreement.
Yeah, it's during the pre-IPO, I already did the handshake with Kabir. Kabir has become a good friend of the company, and he's ex-MIT, and I've spent a lot of time in India, and I find India difficult, and I'm probably a bit too blonde to come across Indian. But Indians do like to buy from Indians, and I respect that. And that market is in flux as well. It's like, we want to go electric, but we don't really know how to go electric, and we haven't got the grid for it yet. So that there is more challenges than just electric motors. But the big players and supported by Padmini agree with our vision that this is a east to west and bottom up electrification, and it starts with those little 100cc motorbikes. If you look at the top 5 leads that we are now working on, and there's a lot of my people engaged on basically filling in those RFQs that we have received during the autumn, and meeting the requirements of those customers. And one of those customers has already turned around and like, I have never seen a presentation like this. They were blown away. And it's also under the guidance of Padmini. Now, that market potential is so large that I wouldn't even entertain going into that if I didn't have Kabir and Padmini by our side. Yeah. Now, I thought that was all done in like June, but then you have all the legals, and the legal side of India and the UK is quite complicated, and to merge that, it took another 6 months. But for me, it was already done 6 months ago.
Right. Okay. And when do you think the sort of like the first sort of like electrified motorbikes will happen in India using the joint ventures Axial Flux electric motors?
I think within the next 6 months, we'll probably have almost too many orders to take on more orders. So
that's a nice problem to have.
No, but it's in a way it's scary as well, because you don't want to upset clients and say, well, sorry, we can't help you anymore. But I mean, for truck e-axles, ring ZF today, and they might be able to give you something in 4 years' time. Ring Bosch for a little electric motor, for a pedelec or something like that. We're sold out. We'll talk to you in 5 years' time. And I don't want to get into that position. I want to be more careful and more strategic. So therefore, we're only allowing certain companies into the camp. We meet their requirements, they can place the order. And because they are light mobility applications, I would say within 18 months, that should be, the first systems should be on the road in India.
Fabulous. And what about China? Because I know you were running a tender out there for licensing out the technology. And presumably you're actually trying to do these things for quite a number of different countries, actually.
Yeah, no, that's right. That's right. The tender in China is going well. We've slowed it down a little bit because it's because of the now being a PLC, suddenly Asian and international companies take you seriously. And the type of inquiries that we are getting is again eye-watering. The volumes. I mean, there was one that was like, well, if we choose your technology, then we need at least like 30,000 units. And we were like, okay, 30,000 units per year. That's no, per month.
We thought you were going to say per week then for a moment.
Well,
that'll come. Probably... That'll come.
And to be honest, I'm not ready for that. I don't want to overstretch this extremely precious company. We've created the IP. It now needs some time to bed in and really like get those durability confirmations from those clients. Because the minute that you start throwing millions of these powertrains and motorbikes and tuk-tuks and vehicles into the market, and there is a problem, then the liability is huge. So, yeah, okay. And all the people around me, we've all been in the automotive industry like 20 to 30 to 40 years. And we know how it works. It's very tempting, especially these Asian companies like, I want it today and it must be in production tomorrow. And it's like, you can make a lot of money in doing that, but it might cost you the company. No. Slow down.
Yeah, there's definitely a balance, isn't it, between sort of a land grab opportunity, but equally this is safety critical equipment that people ride on at 30, 40 mile an hour, and therefore it's got to be absolutely 100% secure and reliable. So yeah, there's that real sort of like, you know, balance, and you do hear some bit of a disasters areas in certain OEMs who produce vehicles that frankly have, you know, different combustion problems. But anyway, just moving on now to all things water and marine. A nearer term sort of opportunity, because you've actually you've just launched a new brand, haven't you, Propel, which I love. It sounds great.
There she is.
Yeah.
It's been in my brain for about 3 years. I've been while we were like filing the patents and we were in stealth mode, and as you now have learned, stealth mode is the opposite of my natural mode. I knew exactly a year ago on the 13th of January that the IPO was going to happen. And I thought, yay, so finally we can do the marine application, and understanding Europe very well, understanding the Torqeedo product and the price that they charge and the inferior drive tech that they use. And I was like, oh no, the IPO is going to stop me from actually implementing it, because I can't do everything at the same time. And then the confidence of money kicks in. And I rang the best marketeer I know, engineering marketeer I know. And I said, you're going to launch it. And it was called Blue Marine at the time. And there were too many companies with that name. So he did the proper research on what does the market want. And this is exactly what the market wants. We launched it at the Mets. And what the best feedback I heard, apart from the fact that we're going 40% under the price of Torqeedo, because it as far as I'm concerned, Yamaha is the market leader in outboard motors, especially that 15 horsepower. And as far as I'm concerned, an electric version should cost no more, maybe at the beginning an inflation of about 40%, and that should reduce down to about 25% of the market leader. And we shouldn't be focused on the competitive pricing, because they are artificially high. It's a bit like the first LCD screens that came on the market. Yeah. The best feedback I heard was someone that said, I've placed an order, I don't even have a boat yet. Yeah.
So he's he likes the motor so much he wants to buy a boat.
That's right. It's and of course we're doing an inboard as well, because not everybody wants an outboard. Yeah. And again, it's always the standard Saietta AFT motor. So please have a look at Propel Me, so propel.me, and you can place your order there. We're almost sold out, so place your order now, otherwise you'll be waiting 2 years to get one.
And you've actually delivered some of those products, have you already, to clients?
Over Christmas, I was in Holland, and we do this thing with oliebollen, which are balls of dough, and we celebrate New Year, and we did that in the boat with a Propel drive system inside.
Well, we'll see you at the Olympia London boat show then in the spring, I think. There, Vic, with a bit of luck.
They can place an order. I will supply to anyone who pays.
Okay. And what about just over Christmas? Actually, I was watching the BBC, and they were featuring one of your partners' electric assisted vehicles on Click as being, and they were holding them out as being really a leading light in all electric delivery vehicles, the transit replacements in inner cities. And how's that sort of progressing? I'm guessing that's a longer timeline, but that's an enormous market, I guess, because people like Rivian were, last time I saw, on $100 billion valuation based on delivering these type of vehicles to Amazon. So.
Yeah, it's again, the market is in flux. Like we've talked about this before. In my humble opinion and my advisors, the automotive supply chain globally has a value of over like 2 trillion per year, and that entire supply chain is in flux. Will my grandchildren, or even children, by the time they get a driving license, will they still buy a car? Like even my daughter, when she goes into Amsterdam with my family, she's like, "Oh, just get an Uber. I don't want a car in Amsterdam or in London." So links, I adore links, and as you know, we spoke to Ree a couple of years ago, and even their technical team was like, "Oh, your motor actually fits in the wheel better than ours." But obviously they did a SPAC and they are completely in love with themselves, and good for them. I mean, the market demand is there for everyone. All I did is, when you go to our YouTube channel, we made that little platform to demonstrate that if your motor looks like a wheel, maybe you should fit it in the wheel. And we demonstrate that works. Eve Links, or Eve, Adam Barmby, also a good friend of mine. He was like, "I want to add that to the portfolio, but I want to do it in a like a single steering cabin, and then hopefully in the future we can remove that cabin, but always the 2 Saietta motors in the back. It doesn't need 4, 2 is good enough." And we did the exclusive agreement. We already did that in the autumn somewhere, I believe. And it's right. It's right. And to me, Propel and Lynx, if Lynx is 10,000 vehicles a year, 2 motors per vehicle, that's 20,000 motors. I think Propel, we can get 20,000 motors quite quickly. Then suddenly 40% of the factory we're building right now is already sold. Almost creating your own client.
Yeah, I think it'll be faster than everybody thinks, actually, because I know Uber are hoping to move to autonomous driving within 5 years. So let's wait and see. And just on the sort of the volume, you've talked a lot about the increase in demand and the orders, and you're having to sort of like, almost sort of like be choosy in terms of which customers you can actually service and stuff. I know you've got a sort of like a 2024 target to increase volume capacity to 100,000. Are you looking to lift that, or is it you're going to make the difference up using licensing and joint venture partners instead?
Yeah, I force myself to stay in the helicopter. See, for me, the AFT, the UK AFT plants, that 100,000 units is for me pretty much pilot level. So if you have a client in India, they want the first 10,000 units, we'll push them out of that factory, but it's more of a process definition factory. We are now in talks with the north of the UK. I mean, you've got that beautiful area on the east side where Nissan is also based. There are some potentially very interesting opportunities coming towards Saietta, and that would also allow us to bring the e-traction, now called Saietta Commercial or Saietta Europe. That motor production I am stopping in China. I'm bringing the manufacturing of electric motors back to Europe/UK. You know me, I'm UK is still part of Europe. Some people agree, some people don't. But for me, it's like we need to bring manufacturing back to our part.
And why are you doing that, Vic? Is that simply because you're reshoring for better supply chain management and control?
Yeah, process definition. It's all about it. I want the recipe factories around me. And then once that is proven and it's sold into large, long-term contracts, that client can then either make it themselves in-house, right, or will set up a JV factory outside of their factory and make it locally, because that's properly green. And the first JV for that purpose is Padmini, now called Saietta VNA.
Okay, so basically develop the blueprint in the UK and in Europe, and then roll it out through joint ventures and licensing partners for the mass market.
That's right. That's right. Because I mean, you can see the three variants there. I mean, we're talking 6, 15, and 200 kilowatts. That's 800 volt, and that's the big Saietta application motor. But as soon as a client walks in here, and I'm like, okay, there's 3, pick one. And they're like, no, we want one in between those 2. They never want what we have. And then we start tailoring it to their needs, match their requirements, integrate it into their vehicle. They pay for that service, and we can get them into production quicker than anyone else.
And what about just finally on the high performance cars? I guess they get that 800 watt motor. I'm not sure, but you know, it's sort of like the Bugattis, the Ferraris, and all this sort of stuff. Because Mercedes obviously bought one of your competitors, seeing the opportunity of not only combining the high efficiency and lower cost, but also with the very, very good performance.
I mean, we're very proud on the fact that we can get 220 kilowatts out of a little pancake motor. We never had an inverter, and my first interest in e-traction, when I looked at their website from Slovenia, I was like, oh my god, they have an 800 volt inverter, and there it is. And it fits directly onto the AFT 190. So now the Saietta group suddenly have the inverter and the motor in one group. Okay, that's interesting. The fact that Yassa has been taken off the market, and the amount of inquiries that we are getting for AFT 190s, the problem is the AFT 190 at the moment takes one man, or one lady actually, 1 week to make, because it's very early stage. So as far as I'm concerned, the IPO focus is lightweight mobility, right, and buses, not too much in between. But I mean, even mining industry, everybody always thinks like, oh, do a hypercar, do a Bugatti, I've had my hypercar phase in my career. That motor in mining industry, in off-road highway, in tractor applications, that's way more interesting.
Right. Okay. And then just sort of like wrapping all up in terms of the sort of the timeline and announcements and news flow over the next sort of 12 months, what are you sort of looking for? Contracts, and obviously you've got, I think, is it year end in March, is it, or something like that? And you know, how are you seeing sort of like, you know, what for investors, just to sort of like give them an indication of what to expect coming down the road?
Yeah, we're for now we're sticking to the 6-month reporting. So we've done we're on a UK financial year, so that's April to March. This interim result was about up to September, but obviously my brain is already, well, we're in January, and my brain is in November. So I've already said to the finance department, we need to start getting the results out a bit quicker. We're only tiny at the moment, so we're not Unilever or Shell yet. But I would say close the financial year. So there's a good quarter. There's a lot of work going on. Do some reporting as early as possible into Q2 of the calendar year or Q1 of the financial year, Stick to that 6-month reporting, but keep an eye on our website. If any contracts that land, we'll do a press release immediately. We've got a new website coming where it's easier to pick the product groups. So if you're interested in buses, click there. If you're interested in tuk-tuks, click there. Motorcycles there. And then press releases will be published there. But also in the summer, we'll have a big celebration of opening the medium size volume plant for the AFT units.
Okay, looking forward to to cutting that that cake or the ribbon when it comes to actually open. But I want to point investors to there's a new report which has just come out from the house broker Canaccord, which has upgraded their price target to actually still quite a modest £2. Yeah, £2.75. I mean, when I ran the numbers, just very, very top level, and you look at it, and if ever the the business can deliver a 5% market share of that of the global EV electric motor market, then I was calculating the shares are going to go to around, just on a modest valuation rating, it's going to go to above £10 over the next sort of 5 or 10 years. So huge amount of potential upside. But yeah, investors have a look at that report. You can get hold of it on things like Research Tree. So
if I can complement that, I promised myself on the 7th of July never to look at the share price. I have other people looking at the share price, and there's always excitement, but to be honest, we've hardly started. So we've got the IP, we are protecting the IP better. We are talking to the right clients. We are not knee-jerking into contracts, and we are only going for AAA clients, basically real applications that add value and make money.
Well, I mean, it also works the other way, because these clients you're seeing, these blue chip clients and signing contracts, they're only going to go with what their suppliers who they think are absolutely leading edge. So it's a doubled endorsement, I think. So well done, Vic, and look forward to hearing all the news flow and potential licensing deals and contracts over the next sort of quarters and the rest of the year. So thanks very much again for your time, and speak soon.
Thank you.